continuity of Liberians in and out of Liberia by sharing their successes, challenges, entrepreneur endeavors, and much more with the intent to inspire other upcoming changemakers. The 1847 show also promotes the Liberian culture by creating a space for individuals to learn the history of our nation, to find solutions to problems that affect our country today. For this and much more, stay tuned for All Things Liberian. We'll be right back after this short break.
Lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This rural land of liberty shall long be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, all of us.
You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This rural land of liberty shall long be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, all of us.
Welcome back. You're watching the 1847 show, and this is Season 1, Series 3, Episode 13, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. The series highlights individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country. Reimaging Liberia benefits all Liberians as our stories are told from a more positive lens. Therefore, Liberians take more pride in what makes us unique and those outside of Liberia gain interest in visiting our country. As a result, this helps the tourism industry and overall economy as it creates jobs amongst many other opportunities. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with our guest today, who is Windell S. King.
Lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This new land of liberty shall long be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, all of us.
You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Windell S. King, who is the co-founder of For Hunger and the president of the Liberia Football Academy. Over the years, he has taken an active and pivotal role in modeling the change he desires for Liberia through his community involvement and activism. So we're going to welcome our guest right now, Mr. King. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Prince. Thank you.
Awesome. I know the internet has been an issue from your end, so thank you for trying to get on board.
Yeah.
And for those of you rewatching, this was originally scheduled for the past Saturday at 5 p.m. at our usual time. However, our guest fell sick, and we tried to accommodate his schedule, which is why we're restreaming it now. Thank God he's feeling good, and thank God the internet looks like it's going to behave. So thank you guys for joining. Mr. King, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Prince, thank you so much for having me on the 1847 show. I'm just grateful for this opportunity to come and share my work with your audience. Thank you again, Prince. My name is Windell S. King. I co-founded a non-governmental organization that's registered in the U.S. called For Hunger. And the work of For Hunger is to provide food and clean drinking water. And I also work with a local soccer academy in Monrovia called the Liberia Football Academy as president.
Awesome. So you recently celebrated your birthday, and some stakeholders like the commissioner of West Point, wish you a happy birthday. By the way, happy belated birthday. Tell us, how is it like for people like the commissioner of West Point to wish you a happy birthday? What feelings does that bring, and how encouraging is that?
Well, the thing is, West Point as a community is a densely populated community. I'll start with that first. And whenever people hear about West Point as a slum community, even people who live closer to West Point, they think that West Point is one of the risky area to go, and it's a no-go zone if you're not a West Point, or that is if you're not living in West Point. And I actually used to feel and think that way. But when I first visited West Point, I just saw that people in West Point were just loving people, though they go through a lot of difficulties, but they were loving and they were just trying to make way. They are just trying to make way for themselves. So for that, For Hunger has been working with West Point Township to provide clean drinking water. That's how I got in touch with the commissioner there. That's the relationship with the administrative office in West Point and me and the charity For Hunger. So getting a message from honorable commissioner, like, it just made me feel really good. I actually felt that it was the entire township, the township in general, appreciating me at that moment. That was the feeling, basically, like the people in West Point wishing me well.
That's awesome, and it's really encouraging to hear that you are also working towards changing how people see West Point, and trying to help build hand pumps and improve the lives of the people there. So we'll talk more about your work and what you do with For Hunger in West Point, but for now, it seems like a common denominator amongst everything that you do. Your faith seems to be what's common. So tell us a bit about how your faith has helped you find your purpose in life, or your relationship with God. How has that helped you find your purpose in life?
That is a good question, I must say. And the thing is it's a long story to properly answer to that, but I'm just gonna summarize and say that God has been really good, and how I got introduced to God. Like, I have a Christian parents, and I actually grew up with my mom. She's like so stuck into church and things like that. So like I started in church like as a children pastor. So at a very young age, I guess I was probably 11 or 12 years, I used to do Sunday school, not really Sunday school, but children pastor work. So I taught the kids like a child as myself, Christian children. Uh, I actually taught them from the Bible, like a local Bible we had, and I started with that. After that, I started organizing praise and worship, and at the end of the day, I had an entire church right in the children church. So like all of my life, yeah, like just growing up at a young age, having an entire church in the children church. So all of my life, I just look back on that moment and be like, that was a great moment, and it's something I want to hold up to. So like with all of my life, as I've always counted God first, as I've always looked up to God as a Christian, and I've always tried to work by His will and to follow His words. Basically, I'll say it that way. So like whenever I feel down, whenever there's a problem that is above me, I just look up to God. And the thing is, you cannot stress your stress, you cannot kill yourself, you can only do your best and fulfill your purposes. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, like you mentioned, you were a children's pastor, and also you graduated from AM Fofana as a
Right.
valedictorian of the class. That is a Muslim school, and you grew up
Right.
as a Christian. So, tell us about your experience of attending AM Fofana.
Yeah, this thing is really interesting, because even with church, like how I'm always talking about God in all of my work, and like people will come out and be like, man, you had zero clue for going to an Islam school as a Christian. I'm like, no, hang in there. The main reason for which I went in for fun, there are two reasons. One, because my brother who I trusted recommended me, and the second major one is because I, as a Christian, I really wanted to see how those people do things on the other side, because like all of my life I've had, I would say, zero or relation to Islam. Like I've never lived with any Muslim people. I've never like had any close relationship with anybody from the faith Islam. So I actually sat down and told myself that if I go to that Islam school for a year, this is going to be just enough time to understand that relation, to pretty much look through it. Because like before visiting or before going to an Islam school, I heard a lot of things about Muslim, like in Liberia, how people say mean words to Mandingo people, who are a big portion of the Islamic community in Liberia. So like when I sit down and listen to all of those words, I'm like, no, like every story has two sides, it's always two-sided. So like I have to go experience it for myself. For that, I took a breaks that I'll always appreciate. So when I started at AM for Fana, what I did, the funny story is, I told myself that I'm never gonna eat on this people campus. You know, I'm never gonna eat. It's an Islam school. I just want to learn from them. I just want to see how they live. I gotta be careful because like in Africa, people do a lot of weird voodoo and things that are some like I just want to be careful, like all of the news, the rumors I've already heard before taking this risk. So I used to pack myself food. Think about it, I was a senior student and I had a lunch, like I'll pack that lunch box and take to school like every day. That used to be so disturbing, like eating lunch in the class and all of the classmates, all of my friends are like, what's going on with the guy, you know? But I did that for about 3 months, and right after that, I got glued to the people culture and how they do things. And I must say that the Islamic community in Liberia is one of the most united community, like religious community I've ever seen in the entire country of Liberia, the Islamic community. Like Muslim in Liberia, like my experience from AM Fofana, I can sure tell that they are really united, they are really loving, they are really caring, and it was just a fun experience being a Christian or hanging out with those kids. Like they actually used to think that I'm a fula. That's what they would say. This boy is an Islam. He's a fula. Whenever they look at me, they'll say this boy is a fula. But one thing I didn't do is to always come up and be like, no, I'm a Christian. I'm not. I'm this, you know, brag up on my faith. I was always in the corner, just doing academic stuff, just trying to promote the school, trying to help my life, and trying to study and understand Islam. And that was just it, you know. But it was a great experience overall. It was a great experience. I had one of the best year of my entire life. I would say it that way, because like before visiting the or going to Islam school, I came back to Liberia. I was in 12th grade and went to another school, but I got sick for about a year, 8 months. Literally, I was talking out of the head, so I couldn't continue high school. I had to drop. So when I went to AM Fofana that year, it was my second time in high school, and I just needed love at that moment. I just needed to come up, and like those people actually helped me a lot. I remember the proprietor there, he's called Aiba Fofana. That guy really loved me as a son, and because of how studious I was, like all of the programs AM Fofana was invited to, the school selected me as a participant, like a guest to go and represent the school, literally as an ambassador. That's how I was at AM Fofana. Through that, I got a lot of big links to government, and through that, I just got a whole new experience, and I literally recovered from all of the breakdown, the mental breakdown, the sicknesses, the stress I had before visiting AM Fofana. So it just changed my life. It was the experience, getting the experience, understanding Islam, and recovering from a serious sickness. You know, so it was 3 positive things that I got from that school, like living with the Islamic community for a year.
So did the administration know that you were a Christian coming into the school before they accepted you in?
The thing about the school is they don't actually do religious distinction. It's an Islam school in general. It's called AM Fofana Islamic. It's an Islam school, but they do accept Christian or whatever religion. Yeah, my light is back. Thank goodness. Yeah, they do accept Christian or whatever religion, but like they actually do a lot of Muslims compared to others religions. I'll say it that way. So like at the previous stage, they didn't actually know I'm a Christian. You know, they didn't actually know I'm a Christian. But at a certain point in time, they got to realize, like I said previously, I wasn't really bragging up on my faith, always trying to bring segregation. I wasn't doing that. I was the one calm person. Like I remember that year, we were about 5 Christians in like the 12th grade with all of the Islam kids. But like there were some kids from the 5 number that would come out and be like, "Hey, I'm a Christian. Islam sucks. Islam," and there was always noise because of that. But I was the one Christian who would come out and be like, "No, this is not it. This is not it. Like this is not a way to live. This is not a way to do it." Like I said, I went for the experience to see, and those people were just great. So I always stood by them, and yeah, they don't actually do separation. They don't actually bother whether you're Christian or not. They just accept you. You know.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. So moving on, we talked a lot about your engagements as far as, but something I want to highlight on is how many countries you have traveled to. So you've been to countries like America, you've been to several West African countries. Why have you returned to Liberia? Why have you committed a life to return to Liberia to serve?
Yeah, this question actually carried my mind back a little bit. But whenever I hear this question, the next thing that comes to my mind is the love of liberty brought us here. So that's what I'll say. Yeah, the love of liberty brought us here. But to be vivid to that question, to be honest and speak obviously to that question, I'll say that yeah, like I've been places, but I always saw Liberia as a place deep down to my heart because like all of my life I lived in Liberia, and whenever I go places, I see anything in that place, I sure want to make sure that same thing is seen in my country. Like I'm just saying it as a phrase, like I'm just speaking out verbally. But to be able to do
Mhm.
those things, it takes a lot of work. And a lot of work include you yourself being on ground regularly, you yourself being at home or in that special or specific position you want to do such thing, or all of the time that you can make it happen, you make sure you be at home. Not saying that I don't want to go out. I want to go out, but like if I would go out, I go for work for a short time. I go for school for a short time. But like all of my investments, I sure want to make sure it happen in Liberia. All of the changes I want to see around the world, it all got to start from my community, my country, Liberia. So that's part of the reason for which I'm always around. I'm just doing it in Liberia firstly.
That's awesome. Very powerful. So you jokingly mentioned in one of your social media posts that you see Abraham Lincoln kind of like a mentor. So what characteristics of his have you been drawn towards that you would consider him or want to consider him as a mentor?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking us this question. It actually brings smile to me. So when I traveled to the US, like I went as an ambassador for orphan and raised children on an international organization. So like with that, we had to travel from one state to another. Like I remember my first time in the States, it was in Seattle, Washington, like west. So we had to travel through Seattle, Washington. We went to Idaho, Spokane, and the rest of the country, 38 states plus DC. But like when I went to America, my entire focus was to do the work for which I went there, to make sure I get sponsorship for children to school, to make sure I get food for children, make sure I get shelter for children. And I was doing it for kids not only in Liberia, but kids from places like Peru, in Asia, in South America, Nepal in Asia, India in Asia, and Uganda too, I guess. So like while traveling the road, we actually school or homeschool because we didn't have the time to sit in regular classes. Homeschooling, there were a lot of books that kept coming in, books coming, and people were asking like, "Hey man, do you want to read about any U.S. president?" And I had a question a lot, so I'm like, I'm just gonna look through it and choose one person. And luckily, I would say, as God could have it, I just picked a Lincoln book, like a little size book, and I read through them. I'm like, whoa, this guy is really interesting. So like, I got a very big size book about Lincoln that I actually read for about 3 months, and that was so crazy. I'm just sitting 3 straight months, trying to understand that book, trying to comprehend every word. The thing about Abraham Lincoln is he wasn't just a president and he wasn't just a father, but that guy was just special because I guess it's because of Lincoln today there is not a Confederate state in a union but a United States of America. Lincoln has so many impact. Like he did a real great job, an extraordinary job to make sure that America didn't divide in the time of conflict. One characteristic that I so dearly admire about Abraham Lincoln is his honesty. Like I believe there were point in time Abraham Lincoln was called Honest Abe, like in Illinois, because he moved to Illinois, Springfield. At certain point in time, he was born in Indiana. Like Abraham Lincoln was really honest to people around him. So some people in his town consider him as honest Abe, like being an honest man. And that's one characteristic I really love because like in life, if you cannot be honest to yourself, if you cannot be honest to people around you, if you cannot be honest to what you're doing, I don't think there's gonna be a success for yourself or for whatever thing you do. Like honesty really matters. So that's one of
Right.
the many things I love about him. And the second one I love about him is I don't know how to say the word, but it's literally a sense of not turning back. I would say consistency. He's really
Persistency.
consistent because when Abraham Lincoln, yeah, when Abraham Lincoln won the election, from what I learned, like the Confederate decided to break out, and that is really really sad because like all of the hard work he put through doing campaign and things like that, winning, being able to sit down and be like, all hail the president, and noise came in, civil war came in. It actually could have broken anybody down, but because of how consistent, because of how strong he is, like he just took up the task and made sure the union came back together before he left this world. So like those are just some of the few characteristics I actually admire about Lincoln, you know.
That's powerful, man. Awesome. So in a way, he is kind of like a mentor, and that makes sense. That's
Right.
great. So
Yeah, I actually real. Yeah, you could.
go ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, yes, he is a mentor, and it's crazy to say that because he's dead. And I get questioned like, so how does Lincoln mentor you? I would say it's just through his books, to the many books written on him that I actually lay hand on and read whatever words that I see, whatever powerful word, I just get glued to it and work with it. I would say it that way. Two books, you know.
Okay. That's awesome. So we're at the halfway point of this interview, and once we get back, we'll talk a bit more about your work. Another important man in your life, your right hand man who's currently alive, is Muhammad Kurma, right? So we want you to talk a little bit about Muhammad. You work alongside him for
Yeah.
both For Hunger and also the Liberia Football Academy as well. So tell us a bit about Muhammad and how you guys met.
Yeah, so Mohammed Kurma is actually famous by the name Abu Trika. That's kind of like the name that they call him too, out of the district number 10 in Masrata where he lives. You know, the thing is, Mohammed Kurma is actually an Islam too. You know, he's a Muslim and I'm a Christian. I'll say that way. So like when I left the US after touring as an ambassador for orphan and enriched children, I came back, and like at that time I was really little. So like my primary focus, or my primary thoughts were, if I was going to go to the States and do what I went to do, kids were not going to be seen in the streets selling, parents were not going to starve with their children. Like children lives were basically going to change on another level. That was the foolish little thinking that I had. So when I came back, like bro, I saw kids were still in the street being used as bro window. It just blew my mind, and I was like, this is the apparent start of what I want to do. Like I just have to get up and do something else. So I thought about a movement, because apparently when there's no movement, there's no improvement. I'll say it that way, obviously. So for a movement, I believe that Windell can only do his best, but Windell cannot do everything. That is, a one person cannot do everything, but a one person with followers, with people who believe in such person or in that person, there are a lot of great things that can be done. And you as an individual, when you have something, you need to have like-minded people around you to grow such thing and make such thing a success. So the story of how Mohammed Kurma or Abu Trika and I met, it was through social media. And before I could go in for fun, at that time, Mohammed has already graduated high school. So he heard a lot of things about me, because like I used to be the real talkative type in high school. Like I was first in everything, like in the entire school. Like I was seen all over the school, was actually seen. My voice was heard everywhere, everywhere on campus and out of campus, or things concerning the school. My name was also heard. So one time he said he was sitting by himself and some kids left the campus. They were like, wow, that new boy that entered school, Windell King, is really brilliant. He's doing a lot of great things. He just overheard it, and he went to his social media and found me and just added me on Facebook. So like he added me, he had a couple messages in. He was like, man, that's really good what you're doing. Keep at it. But I actually looked at it and just said, thank you, and just scroll past it. So what really interested me, what really got me attached to Abu, was a Facebook post that I saw. It's just this guy that I barely know. He had this post up saying, in the future, I want to have about 30 to 40 children living with me so I can change their lives, so I can provide shelter for them and literally be a dad to them. When I saw that post, I'm like, wow, who's the young guy that's thinking about such things? So I clicked his profile and I clicked the messenger icon. right after clicking it, I saw it was this one guy who was appreciating me days ago. I'm like, super. I think I could do something with this guy. That's how I contacted him. I'm like, man, we could do something great together. He's like, yes, I already have a soccer academy that's running. I'm like, perfect, let's meet. So we had this one meetup. Before meeting Abu Cheka 2019, the Liberia Football Academy, they didn't have the name Liberia Football Academy. At that time, it was just this community team or team where whenever someone have money, they come in and say, hey, I can support, I can buy 2 soccer shoes, I can buy a soccer ball. Then the team will use that person, like for instance, they will use Prince El Jabo because Prince is buying a soccer ball today, and it was just that way. So when I met him, I'm like, man, this is great, but this thing could get really better. It could get better than great. Let's do something with it. Let's have a general name and let's make sure it's registered, it's legal, and it's a business. And he's like, perfect. And actually, that is his dream. So right after that, we renamed it Liberia Football Academy, and from that first meeting up to now, our Liberia Football Academy is a registered business in Liberia. It's a registered soccer or football team in Liberia, and like the boys there have been doing a lot of great job. Like they won the championship in the single subcommittee, which is a pretty good one. I'll say it that way. And like with the charity, the charity thing, caring for people, it has actually been my dream. So when I met Abu and promoted his dream, he's like, bro, let's do something with
So
yours.
I,
I'm
I
like,
don't I
man,
don't
this
want to
thing is
stop
gonna
you,
get
but
really confused.
I
This
don't want
thing
to
is gonna
stop
get
you, but
confused.
we
He's
have
like, sure,
questions
we sure
about
can do it. So we
for
started
hunger and all that coming up. So we'll ask you more about all that. We just wanted to mostly hear how you met Mr. Kurma, but we'll ask you more questions about your work with For Hunger once we return from the break. So I don't want to spill the beans too early, if that's okay with you.
yeah. So you're saying my work with Full Hunger, right?
Yes, no, mostly how you met Mr. Mohammed Kurma, and then we'll talk about the work that you guys do now through For Hunger and the Liberia Football Academy once we return.
Yeah, perfect. So like I was saying, through the social media, that's how we met. Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you. So we're at the halfway point of the interview right now. So for those of you that are watching, thank you for staying in and staying tuned. I did write
Yeah.
an article recently that I would like to share with you all. So right on the screen here is the article. It's called "Overcoming the Budget Box Mentality." So if you're into reading and you would like to, just learn or read something interesting, you can, scan this QR code or go on the Project Change website, which is prochangeinliberia.org, and you will have access to that article. So it's called Overcoming the Budget Box Mentality. And just real briefly, the budget box mentality is how we see ourselves and our approach towards, how we, fix our financially driven problems. So we come from the perspective of, hey, I need a budget before I can do certain things, or I need to operate within a budget. And this is telling her, this article is telling us how we can break through that mentality. Also, the code is in the corner right here. So if you scan that, you will also be able to access the article. It's a very interesting read, a long read, but it's something that you would definitely learn something from. And I encourage you to read that. Also, coming along with that will be our audio version. So stay tuned. The audible version will be out. It's about 15 minutes. So if you don't like to read a 10-page article, we also have a version for you as well. But in the meantime, we're at the halfway point. We're interviewing our guest here, Windell S. King. So please stay tuned and we'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, my name is Grace Choma Baba, founder of Destiny Creative Organization and owner at Genesis Snacks. You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Ah, lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This new land of liberty shall long be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, girl, all of us.
You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Ah, lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen, Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This new land of liberty shall long be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, all of us.
Hello, my name is Grace Choma Baba, founder of Destiny Creative Organization and owner at Janice's Snacks. You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Welcome back. You're watching the 1847 show, and I'm your host, Prince Larmi Jarbo. And this is season 1, episode 13, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. The series highlights individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country. Our guest today is Mr. Windell S. King, who is the co-founder of 400 and president of the Liberia Football Academy. Mr. King is a selfless and dedicated youth leader who is on a mission to help rebuild the future we all desire for Liberia. Welcome back, Mr. King. How are you? Can you hear me?
I'm good. Thank you. I just had a
Awesome.
little issue with the internet. Yeah. You can hear
No,
me, right?
no
I just had a
worries.
little
No
issue with the
worries.
internet, but I've had that fixed up.
Okay. So you co-founded 400 with Zach Branch. So tell us a bit about how that vision came about.
That's- Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying previously, the entire vision of giving back to humanity, it all started with me being a Liberian, number one, with just less opportunity and like seeking any opportunities, like or positive one, to be able to navigate with it and be able to prosper with it. I'll say it that way. So like with Zach, he's actually an American, and like like the US has good opportunities and things like that, but he has always have a passion of making sure others have it, or even if he doesn't have it, to give it to them. So like there was a time he visited Haiti, and he saw that the people in his surroundings struggle for water. So what he did is he got a tank of water for them and provided water for the entire time he was at that one area in Haiti. So when he went back to the US, he was like, I just provided a tank of water for a community, but I could do something better with I could do something better than that. Like it was great, but I could take it to another level. So because of that, he thought about building an NGO, an INGO that provide clean water. So when I got connected with Zach, Abu and I, like Mohammed Kroma and I, Zach was like, it's the same thing, yeah. So let's do something together. So that's how the entire vision and the plan for organizing or putting together this charity came together.
Okay. So your institution has donated several food items like rice to orphans across the nation. How has your donation aided these orphanages in their mission?
Right now we actually partner with two orphanages in Monrovia. That's the Zion Praise Academy CRM, like the Children Relief Ministry is in Tuporo area. And there's one in New Georgia called the Liberian Children Rescue Educational Foundation Orphanage. So what we do is we take food in regularly whenever we can. And like those food we take in, like we all know how helpful it is, because like one of the leaders at the two orphanages told me that like the government will take children there for the children to live there, but at the end of the day the Ministry of Gender does nothing. Like they will never hear from them. So like for every bag, like even a cup of rice that is given, those kids will make sure that cup of rice go to the fire. It gets cooked for them to eat. So that's how
Mhm.
important our donations have been. Recently, the biggest project we had with the kids was a food project fully funded by a friend from Thailand. She's called Mint, and she's literally famous like in her country. I'll say it that way. She uses aroma alone. She travels around the world and do video about places she visit. So when she visited Liberia and heard the story of food hunger, she was really touched and decided to meet the kids in person. When she met the kids, she couldn't like draw back. She just got so attached to them, and it was a great scene. I would say it that way. So right after that, she decided to raise money with her audience. Like I guess she has about 3 million subscribers on YouTube and about 6 million on Facebook. So with that audience, she was like, I could do something for you guys. So through that, she raised about $4,000. So we got a lot of rice. I think it was about 79 bags of rice and oil, like onions, other food ingredients. It was just a big one for the two orphanages, you know.
That's awesome, my man. Getting
Thanks,
everybody
man.
else that are non-Liberians to help with the vision as well. That's quite impressive. So,
Yeah.
ending poverty or ending hunger or any of those UN developmental goals, sustainable developmental goals requires a long-term empowerment plan for the individual, right? So, besides the donation, how is your institution helping to create a sustainable future for each person?
Yeah, with us, like we actually work with, like the sustainable development goals. We actually work with SDG 1 and 2 and literally 6, I would say that way. Food, no poverty, zero hunger, and that of clean water. But like what we started doing at this starting point, we haven't really been able to impart an individual life. It has just been a group, like with the group of kids at the orphanage in like the entire West Point Township. But with West Point Township providing clean water for the township, I would say it's not just impacting the township like in person, but I would say it has been helping individual lives, because like we heard testimonials from people in the township that like an individual come out and say, oh boy, like before this water pump came here, we didn't have this. Like I had zero access to this type of water, this quality of water, this clean water. Like this was actually where I got water. And when you see some of those existing wells that the people using West Point, is just all bad off. So like hearing those testimonials, I would say that we have actually had a little impact in individual lives. But with the future, our overall goal is to be able to raise as much as possible funds to be able to provide clean water, not only for West Point Township, to provide food, not only for the two orphanages we currently partner with, but to be able to stretch out to the 15 counties or subdivisions in Liberia, and to be able to go all through the region, West Africa, and the rest of the world. That's literally the goal, and that is the plan. But like I'll say, everything has a starting point, and this is the apparent start of it.
That's awesome.
Thank
So
you.
you yourself, you're a digital content creator, and like you mentioned previously, you work with other content creators from around the world who come to Liberia to tour, and you give them a tour of not just the country but also the work that you guys are doing. How are you able to connect with these people, and what is your intent after you have connected with them when they come to Liberia? What message do you want them to hear? What impression do you want them to have of Liberia?
Yeah, the first group I got connected with, like, is this guy called Drew Bensky and another guy called Alvaro Rojas. Drew Bensky is an American, Alvaro is a Spanish guy. So like those guys were traveling the world, and Drew Bensky does video, like travel video and things like that. So before coming to Liberia, I got in touch with those guys, and when they visited Liberia, they actually asked similar question to what you just asked, like what message I want the world to know about Liberia. And it's just that it's just this, that Liberia is not what we've all heard previously or what we've all seen on our stream previously, because like Drew told me that before visiting Liberia, he saw it was this group of people fighting like across the bridge, and I guess that was during the Civil War, and he thought that Liberia was a ruthless country, you know. So it's all about convincing the outside world that Liberia is not a ruthless country, that Liberians are some of the best and peace-loving people on earth, you know. So like, and when I get in touch with those people and spread the positive message about Liberia, the next thing is promote my work with the charity, you know, and pretty much use their audience or ask them to work with their audience to be able to provide funding for us to reach out to our communities, like the West Point community, and be able to reach out to those kids at the orphanages.
That's awesome. And I can see that you've been doing quite well. You've had at least a couple people from different countries like Spain,
Right.
America, and so on that you've been able to bring to Liberia to give a tour. So this entire series about tourism and how we can use it to better tell the story of Liberia, but also promote the economy as well. So how has your work, the tours that you've been giving, the stories that you've been telling about Liberia and your nonprofits, how has that helped the local economy from your perspective? What things have you noticed that has helped the local economy by you giving these people tours?
Since 2019, out of the travelers I've had in like the tourists, I would say it has been about the total number of tourists I've had, it should be about 60 max, I would say it that way. So like whenever those people come in and they do stay at hotels and things like that, you know, so like whatever money they use at the hotel, like it does benefit the community, the economy, I'll say it that way, and help that business. And they have actually been using money outside to get things from the country and things that are like just trying to pull out what they can while in the country, I'll say it that way. And that's pretty much helpful too, you know.
For sure. And those money that they're spending at the hotels or spending in the local markets, those are all providing jobs and help sustaining people as well. So that's awesome. And that's a lot of people for
Exactly.
you to have, given tour to. That's quite impressive. So looking in the future, how do you think you yourself can turn that into a business, as far as being a tour guide for Liberia or the go-to person for Liberia when it comes to people visiting in the tourism industry? Oops, looks like his internet just cut out. So stand by 1 second, guys. So again, if you're watching while we wait for him to reconnect, I would like to share this book with you. It's called, it's not a book, actually, it's an article, and it's called Overcoming the Budget Box Mentality. So you can see the link right in the middle of the screen here. If you scan that QR code using your smartphone, you'll be directed to the article. And it's basically an article about how we can change how we see money, how we deal with money, not just for problems that are financially driven, but just overall how we handle our problems in general from a perspective that is creative and not limited by a budget or a box. So check it out. Let me know what you think, but we'll stand by here and wait for our guest. In the meantime, let's take a short break until he rejoins. Thank you, guys.
Lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know what. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah, nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This New Orleans or liberty shalom be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, cause all of us.
Hello, my name is Grace Choma Baba, founder of Destiny Creative Organization and owner at Genesis Snacks. You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Ah, lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah, nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This New Orleans or liberty shalom be for all of us. And I'm talking about one person, cause all of us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, our guest is actually having some serious internet issue. So, we are going to conclude the interview for today. Thankfully, we're already at the end of the interview. So, thank you guys for watching and staying tuned. Until next time, you've been watching the 1847 show, and I've been your host, Prince Larmain Jarbo. And this was season 1, episode 13, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. This series has highlighted individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country. To watch the last episode of the series, please don't forget to follow our social media channels at the 1847 Show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Until next time, God bless you and God bless Mama Liberia.